Don't you know? Talking about a revolution. It sounds whisper. Poor people gonna rise up, get their share. Poor people gonna rise up and take what's theirs. Don't you know you better run, 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 run. Oh, I said you better run, 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 run.
That's the first point. Study the human revolution, the one that really worked. The next point is this, that we have to know how to surrender power, how to just let it all go, how to play, how to enjoy ourselves, how to do what the revolutionaries coming out of the human revolution still do. I'm an anthropologist, I study hunters and gatherers, if you like, quote, primitive communism. Hunter-gatherers spend most of their time enjoying themselves, laughing, dancing, singing, sex, storytelling. That's a very small amount of work, and even that is quite enjoyable. You're out hunting.
Or gathering.
Sorry?
Or gathering.
And gathering. Well, gather. Hardly work, you just people go. All right, can do work. Digging roots is hard work, go on. Now, the point about that is that you can't surrender power, of course, if you haven't got it. And the revolution that made us human wasn't an event where the revolutionists took power, kept it, and then held on to it. The problem is taking power and holding on to it, of course, is that then the revolution starts to recede into the past. We've had the revolution, everything's fine, we've organised the new order, and the revolution becomes an event in the distant past. That actually didn't happen. What happened was that the powers won, right across the landscape, right across the entire species, in fact, and because all the power had been seized, then it was possible to let go. And what's the point of letting go of the power? Is that if you don't let go, you can't do the revolution again. If it's only through revolution that consciousness, revolutionary consciousness, communist consciousness is generated, then of course you need that revolution. There's no other way of doing it. So if you're going to have the revolution again, of course you've got to, on purpose, win the revolution, lose the revolution, win the revolution again, lose the revolution again. That's what happened when we first became human. It was as important to lose it as to win it. But of course you can't surrender what you haven't got. You have to take the power first. And then the third point, and I'm not quite so sure about this one, but luckily Kip's in the room here. You see, Kip tells me that, from my head, that if you wind forward to the, what is it, the year 2030?
2034.
2034, that's right. Apparently, if you wind forward to 2034 and you look back, in 2034 they've got all these books and records about an extraordinary event which happened in Easter 2012. It's the Easter Rising, isn't it? It was something to do with a golf ball, wasn't it? Some caddy...
Club to death.
Club
to death. A certain notorious capitalist who's building a golf course.
A golf course
on an unstable sand dune in Scotland.
Oh right, okay. Anyway, this is very.
It wouldn't be Donald Trump by any chance, would it?
Donald Trump, but apparently you're not allowed to say that. Apparently it's incitement to say that.
Allegedly.
But apparently this insurrection, this Easter Rising in 2012, started in Scotland or Britain somewhere, and then it spread right across the entire planet. It was a global insurrection. And this was the event which, led to this wonderful stable state which apparently these people in 2034 are so happy to be at. So those are the three main points. I'm not quite so sure about the last one. The first one is absolutely scientific, and I just wanted to make a little bit more serious. How much time have I got, Claire? I think I've got 5 minutes.
10 minutes.
I've got 10 minutes. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. Right, the human revolution. I'm an anthropologist, and my main interest since I wrote my first book in 1991 has been the evolutionary emergence of human language. And I've actually organised, or helped to organise, most of the conferences on the evolution of language internationally, which have been happening the last 15 years. And to cut a long story short, there are kind of two basic positions. Obviously, there's lots of positions in between. But the most dominant figure in linguistics, and therefore many of these debates, is Noam Chomsky. And according to Noam Chomsky, there was a wandering ape who was hit by a cosmic ray shower. And these cosmic rays frazzled the brain of this ancestor of ours, and it produced fully developed the language organ in one individual. And this individual immediately started talking in grammatical sentences. A lot of us are very surprised at this because the individual was talking completely grammatically, but there was nobody around to understand. And in order to understand this whole position, which by the way is a dominant one, so it was a completely random event, a genetic mutation, they call it FOXP2 and things nowadays, for scientific terminology. But the language is for cognition. You're stuck in your own brain, and language isn't actually for communicating with anybody at all. I've become quite an expert on Chomsky, and in order to understand that whole theory and why it's so dominant, you do need to know, firstly, that Chomsky kind of admits it as a fairy tale, although he's absolutely passionately committed to it. But secondly, you need to know why that fairy tale. So therefore, you need to know that Noam Chomsky in 1957 was working in the electronics lab at MIT, funded by the other monkeys and apes are organised. And there are obviously a huge amount of differences, but one thing in common, the basic principle of primate social organisation is a word for it. It's called dominance. And dominance means your ability to displace some rival for a position to get hold of their food, to get sex, or some other valuable resource. So you have a hierarchy. And within that hierarchy, you have the subordinates and the dominants, maybe you have the alpha male, but crucially, the females do all the work of producing the next generation. The females get to do the work of pregnancy, breastfeeding, and the males, male gorillas, male chimpanzees, whatever, do actually very little. They get somebody else pregnant, and then they scoot off and get another person pregnant, and so on and so forth. In the case of humans, we evolved in large groups, enormous pressure on mothers to produce babies with large brains, social brains capable of figuring out very complex social algorithms, and those large brain babies needed a long time to mature, very burdensome, huge burden on females in terms of childcare. And for the evolving human female, it simply wasn't, it was unsupportable. They couldn't balance their energy budgets unless they forced the males to start shifting and doing their share of the work. The result of that, I can't go into it, was there came a point where the productive sex, if you like, the working class, the way Engels puts it, organised, regularly going on strike to force the males who wanted sex to go away, hunt and bring back the meat. And as a result of that, we had this sexual revolution, this human revolution, out of which came the trust necessary for language to emerge. Other animals, actually, monkeys and apes, are capable up to a point of language. It's just that their social system works against it. Language is a system which depends on trust. All other animal systems, they don't depend on trust. The signals are hard to fake, they're intrinsic reliable. A cat purring can't be lying. You just hear a purring cat, that's a happy cat. They're hard to fake signals. Language makes us uniquely vulnerable to deception. And without unprecedented levels of trust, language wouldn't work. So we needed that trust, and it could only come through a revolution, overthrowing, reversing the dominant the logic of primate social organisation. All I'm going to say now is that we are in that position. We've got language. We're here we're talking. Humans have got this extraordinary ability. Of course, through the internet now, it's become magnified a millionfold. But are we using language? Are we a self-organised species? Do we use the internet? Do we use language to manage this beautiful planet of ours? Unfortunately, no. Still, we're dominated by power, by money. Money talks much louder than words. We're dominated by a system which is a return, actually, on another level, to the dominance of our pre-human ancestors. We need to overthrow it. We know we can. How do we know we can? Because we've already done it once before.
Talking about a revolution, oh no. Talking about a revolution.